Philippine Scout Rangers. You guys have asked for it. Let's go.
A light, quick reaction force trained to strike hard and fast, deep behind enemy lines. But
Here we go. Deep behind enemy lines. They're not in front enemy lines. They're deep behind. You know, you guys that watch my videos know that's a pet peeve of mine. These guys go wherever they're told to go to take care of an enemy, right?
join this elite crew. Soldiers must first endure 6 months of hell to earn the coveted Tibet tab. It's a brutal selection course. Most will fail. To graduate, they must face a test of life. A live combat mission against insurgents, where some will pay the ultimate sacrifice. The Philippine Scout Rangers are fearsome anti-guerrilla fighters.
We evaluate our targets. We analyze, we discuss who among them needs elimination.
They are trained to operate in dense jungle terrain found across the Philippines archipelago.
The Scout Rangers go behind deep enemy lines with just small teams, little as 7 men.
Traveling light and hitting hard. And to be able to strike.
Now, I've been to the Philippines as a young Marine. I can tell you this. All the Filipino guys I did meet, they weren't the Scout Rangers, but Filipino Marines. They're some tough dudes, especially now with what's going on. Muslim extremists in the Philippines. I'm sure these guys get a lot more activity than they did 10 years ago even. You guys from the Philippines, let me know in the comments section. These guys are getting more activity because of things like Marwai and other problems in the Philippines due to the Taliban.
Fast, they use helicopters to hit the battle zone, specializing in raids, ambushes, and sabotage. The Philippines has long been plagued by domestic conflicts, one of which gave birth to this elite unit.
The 1st Scout Ranger Regiment was formed 1950 because the government is looking for a solution to counter the guerrilla tactics of our then communist armed groups. They're called the Hooks.
Skilled in unconventional jungle warfare, the unit was modeled after 2 legendary fighting groups, the intelligence-gathering American Alamo Scouts and the combat-ready U.S. Army Rangers. 100.
Well, I'll give them this. They picked the right guys to model their unit after, right? You got the Rangers, and you got some other unit that was around during World War II, the Scout unit. You figure the Philippines during World War II, Marines, island hopping campaigns, all the things that went on in the Philippines. This country's been embattled. If you look back historically, I do recommend looking in the description. The Philippines' history of warfare and who's come in and out of the Philippines over the years. So these people are pretty hardened in warfare, whether it be traditional warfare like you're used to, or just skirmish type things, whether it be communism and now the Muslim extremists.
112 students joined the 1st Scout Ranger class. Only 72 graduated, vying to become part of an even more elite military club. First, they will be stripped of all their ranks. Here, every man is equal.
Now, I appreciate that. You see some of these other SF selections, right? That's what this is. Some guys can come right off the street. So, for example, the Danish frogmen, I think this is a new change. They can come right off the street and try out for it. I don't know how they do it because that frogmen training looked terrible. Take a look in the description. So these guys, they didn't exactly say where they can come from, but they've already been in the military. And that's pretty traditional of, say, the Rangers, definitely the Green Berets. So they've already been in the military. The Rangers example, they're in the infantry. So they go try out to become a Ranger. So they've got some clue, they've got some clue what it's like to hump when your feet hurt. When you're tired, you're humping gear. I think that makes a difference. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments.
All aiming for one thing: the coveted Tibet tab of the Scout Ranger Training School. and recruits are in for a grueling welcome. For the next 5 hours, these instructors will try and break as many as possible through continuous physical exercises. It's not just the instructors who will be brutal.
Yeah, I was about to comment the weather there. You guys aren't used to humidity. I'm not talking 85 with 70% humidity. I'm talking 85, 90 with 85, 90% humidity, which you never dry off from. I grew up in that environment in Florida. Having been to this part of the world, the humidity is one of the things you can't get used to. I'd rather have cold than I would that type of humidity day in and day out because nothing ever dries. So any kind of blisters on your feet, for example, you get cellulitis. Guys that have been in jungle training, say at Camp Hansen, Okinawa can appreciate that, or anywhere you've been in jungle training. Things just don't dry, and then you get infections pretty fast.
Today is a searing 32 degrees Celsius. Just 10 minutes in, and the course has already claimed its first victim to the heat. But he's not alone. 4 more recruits have reached their limits.
When you start vomiting, when you have truly heat exhaustion or heat stroke, you'll vomit. And once you get there, from what I understand, you guys that are medical, chime in the comments. But once you get there, you pass this barrier in your body, and you can't go back to training because your body will go back to that more quickly. So I know in the Marine Corps, once they give you the anal rocket, right, they check your temperature, and you're above some degrees. I can't remember what it is, 102, 103. You had a heat stroke, so it's different than heat exhaustion. You get the boot because I guess it can happen again more quickly, right? And some people just don't do well with it. They can be totally dehydrated, and guys will push through. And some guys, I think genetically just pass out, don't deal with it as well. And if you try to hydrate the day of an exercise, the day of a long hump, you're done. So if you don't hydrate right, and they'll tell you in these kind of trainings, drink up, eat salt, do whatever it takes because you will not get hydrated the day of. You'll output way more than you can hold in, right? And it's a unique skill that I think part of it's genetic. We have a heat stroke there.
Recruit 54 has collapsed from heat exhaustion. He's being taken to the medical area to get his body temperature down.
You know what they do to get your body temperature down? It's like the worst thing in the world. They'll put you in like a big cattle trough type of thing, and it'll be filled with ice and ice water, and they put you in that and keep you in that thing, get your body temperature down. Because if you don't, you will fry your brain. It's the same way in the Marine Corps at Paris Island. They'll check you. And I don't remember, but I know a couple guys with heat strokes. They're gone in a helicopter, Humvee. And I understand they put them in an ice tub, try to get their body temperature down. They may even give you a cold IV. I don't know. You corpsmen in the audience, let me know. I never had that. I did have a heat exhaustion where I fell face forward, landed on my helmet one time, and that was bad enough.
For others, hell has just begun.
I like the same. They got the same ditties, cadences when they're running that we had in the Marine Corps. I'm sure they have in every branch.
The second run.
One thing I like about the Thai Marines, if you check that in the description, I did a video on them. GGK, hopefully the second part will come out. But one thing I do like is all these guys carry like a bamboo switch. They'll get their attention from afar. They're not letting them get away with anything. The reality is they're trying to help them, right? They're not trying to be assholes. But guys have never been pushed this far. And this is just, let's say you're in the Navy and you went off to this training day one. You're not used to this kind of training. They're going to run you into the ground.
Sees more recruits drop. Medics are called in for even more severe cases of heat exhaustion. The exercise has depleted their bodies of essential water and salts.
Yeah, he'll be gone, this guy.
It results in dizziness, vomiting, loss of consciousness, and control.
Like Flocka.
If not treated fast enough, it can develop into heat stroke, a potentially fatal condition.
If the condition is already heat stroke, the regulatory mechanisms of the body has already malfunctioned.
Ibuksan mo to niya kasi kinagat niya yung dila niya. Bagatin mo. Ranger, bagatin mo. Buksan mo.
Then the patient started to bleed. That would result to multiple organ failure.
Recruits are only allowed up to 72 hours of medical grace from the entire course. If they use up all these hours, they will fail.
Now, I've seen some pretty extreme cases of heat exhaustion, heat strokes, but never the yelling. I've seen guys convulsing, like twitching, and their eyes roll back in their head. Usually the corpsman got to him pretty quick, and it was all in training. They tell you, so in training when you're getting there, with infantry training or jungle training, once you get further along, you will know how your body's going to react. So you may just suck down. You spend all the night before, drink as much water as you can. But you do get acclimated to it to a degree. So you start recognizing the telltale signs and when things are going to go bad.
It's only been 1 hour since they signed up. Next challenge sees them hitting the ground. The unfit or unwilling have no place in the Scout Rangers. At age 32, Recruit 1 is one of the oldest in the course.
This is my ambition. It is very difficult and it's very hard to be trained as a ranger. That's why I don't know what's the training I will going to survive this kind of.
Yeah, when you're 32, you just don't bounce like an 18-year-old. You never think it, right? So in the Marine Corps, the U.S. Marine Corps, 28 was the max age you could be to get into boot camp. You see guys later on, let's just say 4 years later, they're 32 and you're 22. They just don't recover as good. Now, you get some old guys that have been in since they were 18, been in 20 years, right? So they're 38. They have tactics and techniques, so they know how their body's going to respond. They know how to recover. And mentally, they've got a bigger scar about training, so they don't have as many issues as, say, a young guy who's 32. It's his first time experiencing this kind of suck.
Of course.
Hey!
2 hours to go. For those still in the game, the pain is nearly over. Reception has nearly ended. But this last tradition is a hard one to stomach. Chilies.
Now, so you're totally empty, right? No water, probably no food in your gut. They're going to feed you chilies. I've never seen this one, but I don't know how my body would respond to that. I like hot food. I love Thailand, love the food there. I love Filipino food. But when you're exhausted like this, even if you grew up with the chilies, that mash has got to be terrible. My viewers in the Philippines, put that in the comments. How hot that mash is. And does it make you just clear out your gut? Is it like a colonic or some kind of health thing that people would do here? I'm sure that's not the intent. But I can only imagine, do you get the runs? Do you get the pukes? Something happens.
Kamu yan.
Lunok. Paano mga kasama? Paano mga? Swallow. Swallow!
Right now, this is the final phase of our reception rites. We're trying to let them eat the chili pepper and the juice of it.
You guys that don't know, the hot in the Philippines, I would say, is as hot or hotter than Indian food in my experience. Thailand's the same way, but I think the Philippines takes it to a unique level of hot food.
So after this, they're licking the tabak sign or insignia.
You think to cool your tongue
The
off.
musang or the Black Panther. It's our logo for the Scout Rangers.
Finally, reception day is over. But disappointment sets in as these recruits realize their Scout Ranger dream is over. At the end of day 1, the damage is clear. 35 have quit. 171 remain standing. And this is just the beginning.
If you'd like to see the second part of this, put part 2 in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.